Hi guys, Crownie here, and today I will be talking about Senna. She's one of the most played AD carries now, and she has about a 56% win rate. She's a very unique champion because she doesn't actually get AD per level. She gets AD when collecting souls from the target. Soul I collect is essentially 1 AD, it's 0.75, but it obviously rounds up. And every 20 stacks I get 20 range and 10% critical strike chance. That's very important for her item builds later and how she wants to play early game, okay? The reason she is so high win rate now is because of essentially Doran's hand being in the game. She's, I think, the squishiest AD carry in the game, or maybe after Caitlyn, but Doran's hand makes her so much tankier, coupled with the sustain from your Q healing, makes your lane so much easier and makes it much easier to play and stack souls. Okay, now let's talk about Senna runes. She's one of the most versatile AD carries in the game in terms of what she can take. For example, recently, Pace played against Genji and took Airy. Most people are currently playing Deathfire Touch on her. You can also play Comet if you want to play more for lane. And in the past, before Deathfire Touch existed, people were always playing Fleet Footwork in lane, which is like very consistent. You can also play PTA if you know you're gonna proc it. And Tempo is an option, but I wouldn't really recommend it. But as I said, she has a ton of variety in what she can take, okay? Now, if you take Sorcery primary page, I will always advise you to go Mana Flow because she's quite mana hungry and there's a build going around with Mana Immune. I personally don't like it, but there's people playing it. If you want to, you can play it. I think it does make sense to go scaling item on a scaling champ, but regardless, Mana Flow Band is OP. You should go Celerity. It synergizes well with you buying Swifties and with your passive and with your E-movement speed and everything. And then you just go Gathering Storm because it's the best rune in the page. You can also play Scorch if you're playing like Airy or Comet, but I wouldn't really recommend it. She doesn't really want to win lane that much. Now secondary. Secondary page is where we can get really creative, okay? We can go Inspiration, where we go Jack of all trades with Doran's Helm. It's very easy to get 5 and 10 stacks. And we can go Magical Footwear to get the extra movement speed, and because we want to rush Shiv as fast as possible. That is one option. The other option is going Resolve. Essentially either bone plating overgrowth if you're playing into an all-in lane like Samira, or just conditioning overgrowth for maximum scaling. Then you go scaling HP and you have like 500 HP extra from your runes and Black Cleaver. It's amazing. Or you just go precision. Essentially you can go Presence of Mind if you really feel like you're struggling with mana, but I wouldn't really recommend that. You can just go Legend Alacrity and cut down. It gives you a lot of damage. But I would say the most consistent one, like pure damage, precision, survivability, resolve, and like somewhere in between Inspiration. You can never really go wrong by going like Magical Footwear and Jack of all trades, but all those three are very good, okay? And then shards. You should really try movement speed shard on her. And if you are really missing the adaptive, you can just take adaptive in the first row. And then if you feel like you have a free lane, you would just go Doran's Helm, scaling HP, and you're chilling. Otherwise, just take flat HP if it's a hard lane, like into a Draven or a Samira or something like that. Kalista, the ones to all in you, Tristana. Other than that, yeah, play around with the shards, play around with this first primary and secondary rune pages, and let me know how it goes. Let's talk a little bit about her spells. As I said, her passive is very unique. You essentially mark the target with mist, and when you proc it, you deal percentage current health physical damage. Your attacks take extra time to fire. She is very unique in the sense that attack speed doesn't work on her like it does on other champions. She has an attack ratio of 0.4, meaning she only gets 40% of attack speed that she buys. But her base attack windup is reduced per level. That's why she scales good, because the attack windup still goes down per level, but is only reduced by 60% of the attack speed you buy. So essentially attack speed is not that good on her. Maybe you can buy one item, but you would never buy, for example, Berserkers. Never. It's just not worth. And her critical strikes deal 180%, not 200, but you can still buy Infinity Edge later when you have enough crit. So her Q is a line ability that hits the enemies and heals all targets that she hits, including herself and her allies, and marks the enemies with a passive that you can proc. All of her abilities mark the enemy with a passive that you can proc, her W, her ult, and that's very important in lane. Senna W, the way it works, it's a line skill shot that whatever it hits, it will root after a single second, 1.25 seconds, and obviously it goes up by level, so later on it's 2.25. And additionally, if it kills the target hit, it will root instantly. So these two are rooted instantly. So essentially that's pretty much it. Her E camouflages herself and her allies. For example, you can use her E in a bush. I will show you some clips of it. You cannot see your ally walking out of it, so it's very good to combo that for ganks. And her ultimate is essentially a global shield for your allies and damage for the enemies. It procs like the percentage current HP damage passive on everyone it hits. So it's very good to essentially assist your team. So she has a ton of utility, right? Essentially the biggest utility AD carry in the game. Items. As I said, I suggest Doran's Helm. Then when we go to first item, I would suggest either Shiv, Black Cleaver, or Blade of the Rune King. I would say in 80% of cases, I will advise you to go Shiv because it gives you essentially everything you need. She has AP ratios on her Q and ult. She obviously needs AD, attack speed and move speed, and it gives you wave clear. When you attack the minion wave, if I'm in the minion wave and there's a dummy in the minion wave and I attack with Shiv or a champion in mid wave, the lightning will proc my passive on them. So when you're on mid waves with red buff, it procs the red buff, procs your 7% current HP passive, and it helps you with wave clear. As I said, her weakest part in lane is damage early and wave clear. Shiv gives you everything you need. It's a perfect item. Then the other two items you can rush is either Blade of the Rune King if you really feel like you need the sustain and the damage to kill like frontline and you know you're gonna be hitting a lot, or Black Cleaver if you really want to be tanky on your first item. If you buy either of these, I would still advise you to buy Shiv second because I think the item is just perfect. Passive synergy is just too good to pass up on, but you can build either of those two besides Shiv first. Now second, let's say I have Shiv. If I feel like I have a lot of carries on my team comp, let's say I have a Rengar and I have an Irelia and a Jace or something like that, wow, Black Cleaver sounds amazing, right? It also makes you tanky, it gives you CTR, and it reduces the armor, it's just perfect. With Q autos, she essentially gets 4 Black Cleaver stacks instantly. That's why it's so OP on her. She procs it extremely fast, okay? That's why it has such amazing synergy on her. If you want to go more damage, you can straight up buy Hex Optics second, and then later on, I would always go into Infinity Edge when I get more souls, okay? Because she gets crit from her passive, but I would essentially never buy more than 3 crit items on her. A lot of times, it can also be 2, but 3 is the max I would ever buy on Senna. The excess crit is converted into lifesteal, but I think she has better items to build, such as like Guardian Angel or BT or Kenny Crookern or Maw or Randuins. Essentially anything you can think of you can build on her. That's for item builds. So how you want to play Senna in lane? Essentially, she really loves laning with melee supports, and I suspect that part of the reason her win rate shot up so much is that range supports got nerfed, like all the enchanters, and melee supports got buffed, and she loves playing melee versus melee matchups because Senna wants to heal her like tanky characters and take souls from the enemy tanky character. She wants to play like Alistar versus Rel. You just do this Q auto, run away, or like auto Q, run away. She doesn't want to fight to the death pre-6, and she doesn't really want to like push the enemy under tower like a Caitlyn and poke them. She has no wave clear early game, and she doesn't really like getting pushed in by a Karma Caitlyn. Yeah, that is torture. Torture for her. Yes, I'll be going over some Senna gameplay for the guide and kind of lead you through my thought process of what I do in the game. I think one of the most important things you can do on Senna is to abuse the Shiv interaction. Essentially, as I mentioned, her Q gets reduced by 1 second on hit, right? And Shiv procs your on hits on every target that Shiv hits on. So essentially, the way you trade as Senna is, I will show you right now, when I come from base, you Q, and then you attack the minions, and your Shiv goes off cooldown by 5 seconds or 6 seconds. Based on the amount of targets it hits. So for example, you see here, Q first, now my Shiv still stays, I attack the minions, boom, I have another Q. This is what you have to constantly abuse. You can do the same on mid waves. For example here, I'm trading, I Q, I get my Shiv proc, boom, off cooldown again, I Q again, I heal again. It's the most OP thing in the game. I mentioned Manamune a bit, especially if you go Manamune on Senna, you need to abuse Shiv reducing the cooldown, okay? It's essentially the main thing. The other things I would tell you to look at in mid-game is move your camera around when your teammates are fighting for your ult. This is one of the other things you should do mid-game with Senna. You should constantly keep an eye out for team fights on the other side of the map. In this clip, I use my ult to get assist on the Tristana, and because I get an assist, my C44 procs and I'm able to kite out the rumble with the insane range, right? And this is why Senna wins so much. The amount of utility you have for your team is insane. You can set up ganks with your camouflage, you can heal people, you can root enemies, and you can ult globally for assists and for shield and damage, right? Super broken. When you are playing Senna mid game, walking from base, make sure you follow your jungler around. I'm sorry, you can't see the min map right now, but the mid waves are neutral in the middle. You need to make sure you click to the camp. Here you see I'm pinging on the way. I'm taking 2 souls from Wraiths. I walk to blue, I take another soul. I walk to Gromp, I take another soul. Then boom, I take the wave, and then I kill Rumble, okay? But I get like 4 souls off of one play, and most of the time Wraiths can spawn more. So you get like 2 souls mid lane, 3 souls from Wraiths, boom, 5 souls. You take another team fight, 5 more souls. It's the most important thing on Senna. After you have like 2 free items on Senna, it's very important to hit your soul breakpoint. If you can be above like 67 souls at 20 minutes, it's really broken, okay? Mid game, when you go to mid wave, follow your jungler around. It's the most important thing you should do on Senna. Just be in your auto tech range, that's enough for your soul spawn range, and you should be able to get souls. Hi guys, my friend Seraph did a Senna DPS test using different item combinations that people use, and it will be linked in the description below to check it out for all the math nerds. And shout out to him for helping with the guide. Thank you for watching the Senna guide. Let me know in the comments which other champion you want to see. I've got some ideas in mind, but I'm open to suggestions, and see you on the next one. Bye!